bisexual. Gay men aren't attracted to me because I'm too much like a woman. So it's a heterosexual man that has a taste for trans women. He still likes biological women, but he also has a taste for.
So would he be considered bisexual?
You know, I guess, see, that's where the labeling comes in. They would not consider it, because the men that date me, they're like, no, you're a woman. As far as I'm concerned, you're a woman. You know, they don't see a man in me. But it's all relative. I would say 9 out of 10 of them would not say they're bisexual even. But probably if you wanted to like really analyze it, I guess there's maybe some bisexuality. The thing about that is they can't be with a regular guy. That's the thing. If they're going to be with a male person, it has to be someone that's transgender, that's very female. So, you know, when you think about it, it can be a little confusing, but when you look at our universe and how spectacular it is and how diverse it is and, you know, infinite it is, why would we not be infinite when it comes to, and diverse when it comes to sexuality? You know? So, I know, you're like, I don't know about that. Any other questions?
I was wondering if you knew anything about like marriage or long-term monogamous relationships with people in, you know.
Yeah, it happens. It does happen. For me, it hasn't happened yet. I don't know. You know, it's so funny. I've kind of gotten used to like being, I call it the mistress syndrome, because you know, you get the perks of being a mistress and then they go along their merry way, you know, but I have my moments where I would like to know that there was a guy in my corner and that really had my back, you know, and supported me 100%. But yeah, to answer your question, I have a friend, a girlfriend of mine in Atlanta. Her name's Dee Dee, and she's had a husband for some years. I don't think they're legally married, like as far as the government, but he's been there by her side and he's very supportive of her. Yeah.
Okay. Can we? Here, our students are counselors in training. So after this program, they're going to go out and have some, you know, clients like you. So, would you like to give some advice?
Sure, sure. This is why I come out. This is one of the reasons why I come out, because that's how change begins. I mean, I've had some very not so nice situations with the medical community, but now, recently I went for a physical and I noticed that they're a lot more careful with how, you know, they treat you. And it was so funny, the nurse, she came in and she was doing my blood pressure and, you know, my temperature, and she's asking me questions. She's like, when was the last time you had your menstrual? And I'm looking at her like, because I had written transgender on my medical papers, and I'm like, last Tuesday? But then I told her, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot, you know. And then the doctor comes in, and she's talking to me, and she's like, now, do you still have your uterus? And I'm like, Dr. Schumann, my uterus. You don't have your uterus? Did you have a hysterectomy? I'm like, no, I've been trying to find my uterus my whole life. I've been trying to find it. But I would say to you all that the most important thing in dealing with someone like us is just to be open. You know, transgender people, the reason why a lot of us become very introverted and there's like a disenchantment in the community, is because you go out and you go places and you feel like people completely close off to you. Like, you know, the door's shut. And so, you know, I would say that that's a major key. And then if you don't know something, you ask. Like, what would you like to be called? Because I know some people, you know, there's a confusion. Do I call that person he? Do I call him she? Ma'am? You know, Mr.? Ask. And it doesn't hurt. I mean, I would say that the majority of transsexual people would prefer to be asked a question, you know, as long as it's done in a respectful manner, than not to be asked and be treated, you know, in an ignorant way. So I would say, you know, just keep an open heart, and I hope that by me sharing my story, it at least helps you to understand, you know, transgenderism a little better, and also that there's a human connection because, hey, we're human too, you know, and we have families and feelings. I mean, my mascara probably is all over my face now, but anyway. I mean, does anyone have any questions in regards to the counseling aspect?
Have you ever been in counseling, and have you ever had an adverse reaction to counselors?
I'm going to tell you, that's a good question. Most of my life, up until a few months ago, I winged it. I just bit the bullet and I just winged it. But recently I started going to counseling. And I find that it is really helpful. For many years, because I've been with Yes for 13 years, my audience were, they were my therapy session, because you know, I get to at least come and share my story. But I have been so blessed. My counselor, she is phenomenal. Judy Montgomery, I mean, just absolutely phenomenal with me. And so, but I have heard from other transgenders that, you know, they've gotten counselors that just didn't understand and they didn't want to hear it, you know? Yeah, so.
Is there anything specific that your friends mentioned that the counselors might have said or done that
to make me feel comfortable? They smile. You know, you feel welcome. You know when you're welcome somewhere. You know it. It's an energy. You can walk into a room and know whether they want you there or they don't. And that's why it's so funny. I think as transgender people, we're very in tune to the energies. Because I tell you, I can be somewhere and I can pick up on energy, negative energy, and like that someone isn't comfortable with me so quickly. Because, you know, it's been my life and I'm in tune to it. But I would say just being, again, open, smile, welcome. Remember the issues, housing, medical care, employment discrimination, relationships, you know, the dynamics of our relationships. And then also that there are different stages. Because see, when I was in that in-between stage, I have to say it was a lot harder for me going out into public. Now, again, like I said in the beginning, at least I've chosen like a role, and I feel a lot more confident with myself. But you're gonna, who knows what stage of the game you'll come in contact with a transsexual person. It could be before they've done anything. A man could walk into your office, a physical man, and inside he knows he's a woman, and he's transgender. He just hasn't taken the steps yet to doing the physical. So it can be at so many different levels.
How do you feel about the media stereotypes, I'll say, of transgenders? Because a lot of people might look at shows like RuPaul's Drag Race or movies that come out like Hedwig and the Ignorance, which I love both of those things, but I think it can distort the transgenders. Or how do you feel about that?
It's a bit sensationalized. I know what you're saying. Well, first of all, you know, transgender is the umbrella. And then under the umbrella, you have the transsexuals, which I would be, because I'm living my life 24/7 as the other gender. And then under that, you have pre-op and post-op and non-op. Then you have the drag queens, or the transvestites would be the politically correct word. Drag queen is like the street slang. But those are people that dress up like the other gender, but they don't live as it. They're not living as it full time. Then you have people that are like in the middle there. It's just such an umbrella. And I mean, if you look at society too, I mean, remember when guys, like if a guy wore earrings, it was like, oh, that meant they were gay. Now you see guys walking around, I mean, thugs, you know, hardcore guys with 2 earrings, you know. So gender through the years it's really relative to the society and how people look at things, you know. Yeah. I have a question for you all.
Wow.
How many of you all have transsexual friends? Great. But I have another question. Why isn't the whole class raising their hand? I'm going to pass out a flyer on information about, I have a couple books out, and I just did a movie called Maddo. I played an older lady, Aunt Norma, but it's a groundbreaking movie because it's the whole class cast is transgender, and we're playing non-transgender roles. So you can go online to the trailer to see, you know, the trailer of the movie. So I'll pass that out now. But thank you all for having me.